against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. We are your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. We cover breaking news, culture, manic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. This entire week, we usually don't cover a single news topic for a considerable amount of time, right? Usually, what we do is we spend maybe a day, 2 days max. But it was a pretty unique. It was pretty unique circumstances this week, with the legacy media being used essentially as propaganda to justify these crazy FinCEN proposals. And of course, we all know, now we know that I think Elizabeth Warren had a lot to do with all of this. What I didn't think was going to happen was the amount of pushback, the Bitcoin immune system reacting as viciously as it did. And it made me really, really happy, because not only was it Sam Callahan's tweet, it got 5,000 likes. Okay, that is an insane amount of engagement on Twitter. So obviously, if you get that type of engagement, the topic that you're talking about resonates with people. And then that's Bitcoin Twitter, okay? But in the Banking Senate Committee yesterday, multiple people called out Elizabeth Warren's BS. They called out the Wall Street Journal's BS. So I think they're going to have a much harder time imposing that FinCEN proposal, right? And that FinCEN proposal was so broad. It included stuff like single-use addresses, right? Which is like by default how Bitcoin wallets are set up. That's like privacy best practices. It would fall under that FinCEN proposal. And of course, this was on purpose. This was to circumvent the legislative process, right? Make no mistake, this was an attack on Bitcoin. What they needed was a crisis. And that's why I read you guys that famous quote by Winston Churchill, who was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom during World War II, never let a good crisis go to waste. They needed that crisis. And in American history, this has happened before. Back in 2001, with the terrorist attacks, the Patriot Act was introduced into law, which, by the way, the FinCEN proposal is using the Patriot Act to implement this. It's like literally mentioned in the proposal. But also, the New York Times released an article back in the 2000s that claimed that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. Later, we found out that article, that information was total bogus, and that information actually came from the intelligence agencies themselves. So history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. What I saw this week was a very similar play, using a legacy media institution to propagate a false narrative, and using that false narrative as a justification to take away the freedoms of Americans. What was different between 2000, the early 2000s, and now is social media. So now people were able to talk back, to refute the BS in real time. And that's exactly what happened. And I think that quick reaction, that quick response was the reason that Elizabeth Warren's narrative and the Wall Street Journal's narrative was absolutely massacred yesterday in Congress. We have a couple clips for you guys of Congress people even saying, look, this is BS, right? So at least there's some good news, because I'm not going to lie, I covered this yesterday multiple times on Cafe, on Simply, on BTC Sessions, on Simply Sessions, and then I covered it on an unconfiscatable spaces later in the evening, 4 times. And I was just like, wow, this is they're not effing around with this proposal. right? But I was pleasantly surprised the reaction by the Bitcoin community. Then that led to, the reaction from certain Congress members saying, basically the report was BS, right? So there is a happy ending to this. Let's see how, it all culminates. But what it looks like right now, from my perspective, is that Elizabeth Warren's attack on Bitcoin backfired in epic proportions. This isn't just me saying this. Pierre Richard said this as well. And I'm not gonna lie, that puts a smile on my face. Anyone who's against Bitcoin is against freedom. You guys know the drill. All right, I want to bring up my legendary co-host, always optimistic, brother in arm, in the trenches with me every single day. How you doing, Opti?
What's up, guys? We're back. As you can see, I had enough time to get my caffeine intake in. I'm back home. I got the green screen. It was a fun time back home with my family. Good to see all sides of my family. But hey, we're back here. We're hanging out. I got time to make sure my blood has a good caffeine to blood ratio. So we're good to go. We're good to go. But yeah, man. Nico, actually, I'll say now. I'm so glad that Elizabeth Warren backed this stuff, because everything she touches just burns and goes up in ashes. And, I know I tell you guys constantly that Brad Sherman is my favorite politician, but I'm starting to lean that maybe Elizabeth Warren is my favorite politician, because her screeching and her absolute fear of what Bitcoin can do for humanity is it's so glorious to see it get just, slap back in her face. But we'll go through all of the details for you guys. And on today's culture,
I think I just might have just figured out Opti's.
It's
another one of Oxy's.
That's my next victim.
She was like, was she before Yellen or before Augustine?
I'm just trying to climb up the Cantillon ladder as much as possible.
I'm not starting that meme, okay? The Chrissy meme, open Pandora's box. I'm not starting that. Anyways, what are we going to talk about during the culture?
I'm just trying to get close to the money printer, whatever I got to do. I'm trying to be a good Cantillon Fiat insider, guys. This is the game. Don't you understand the game? I'm just trying to play it. All right, guys. Sorry for blowing your eardrums. I guess I'm jacked up this morning again. Anyways, culture. We got a good guest, James, aka Bitcoin Farmers Market. Let's bring him in. He's doing circular economy, a farmers market in Bitcoin Beach in El Salvador. Love to see it, but we'll get all into that during the culture. James, how you doing this morning?
Good morning, lads. Yeah, I'm doing good, thanks. How are you?
Doing wonderful, bro. Doing wonderful.
Thanks for joining us, man. We really, really appreciate you coming on the show. Huge fan of the Bitcoin Beach project, and really excited to talk about what you're talking about. I mean, what you're working on these days. That's what the culture is all about, to highlight Bitcoiners from all walks of life, from everywhere around the world, and really highlight, their contributions to Bitcoin, their insights to Bitcoin, their perspectives on Bitcoin. Because every single human being, even though we might come to the same conclusion, we all approach Bitcoin from different perspectives based on our life experiences, right? Anyways, it's going to be a great show. I'm absolutely pumped. I found out a couple things about what Simply's doing next year, and I'm going to hold it in. But we got a lot of big plans for Simply Bitcoin next year, and I hope to see a lot of you guys in person while we do some of these trips. It's going to be a lot of fun. The halving party is also going to be, looks like we're going to be doing a lot of traveling next year, Opti, which has me extremely excited. Anyways, everybody, let's jump straight into the show. Like I said, we have a lot to talk about. Let's check it out.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. All right, guys, I made it super incredibly easy for you guys. Once again, you could scan the QR code on your screen right now. It'll take you directly to the Stampseed website. You can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their website. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Store it on titanium. Oh God, I think I regret it. I think the Chrissy meme was enough, but like that meme,
Dude, you throw me under the bus for everyone, bro.
Oh man, taking it for the team, Opti. Okay, at the time of recording, I can't. The Bitcoin bugle. I'm just picturing. God damn it! What did I do? Okay, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 33,985 sats per dollar, 2,942. Block height 814,083. Blocks to halving 25,917. Halving estimate April 21st, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity 5,240 Bitcoin. Capacity value 178 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation 1.74%. The market capitalization of Bitcoin $663 billion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 4.97%. The grand scheme of things, Bitcoin's still a baby. When Bitcoin reaches the market cap of gold, and I say when and not if, that will put one Bitcoin at $500,000 per coin in the grand scheme of things. Bitcoin is still a baby. Anyways, this is what I wanted to talk about today. This is the issue at hand, really. And, you know, the Chad Sailor calls us the Cyber Hornets, the last line of defense for Bitcoin. And I felt like it was very appropriate, especially, you know, it at first is the Wall Street Journal. I was like, okay, you know, like maybe they got it wrong. But the fact that they didn't retract the article and the fact that the article was cited in the letter to the White House and some of the language in the article was actually used in the FinCEN proposal. And the fact that we know Elizabeth Warren's bipartisan bill with Senator Marshall has very similar kind of, you know, maybe they're taking a different path, but the outcomes would be the same. Has my suspicions that I think Elizabeth Warren played a big role in this. It's not the first time that the legacy media has given her a platform, her media allies. When Russia invaded Ukraine, we had a very similar article coming out from the New York Times, essentially saying that Elizabeth Warren thinks that Russia is going to use crypto to circumvent U.S. sanctions, right? But I guess that crisis wasn't enough. I guess they needed a bigger crisis, right? They needed a bigger emotional response. But the fact that they're going to these lengths tells me that they're worried, they're scared. Also, Chrissy Lagarde's, you know, meme video basically saying the digital hero is coming and it's here to stay, right? That tells me that I think that they understand they're on the clock and they're trying to roll this out as much as possible. And that tells me that we're winning. That tells me that we're over the target. But let's talk about the backfire, because that's what we're going to talk about today. So here's Pierre Richard, and he says, Elizabeth Warren spread disinformation to exploit a crisis. It's backfiring and now undermines her misguided anti-Bitcoin agenda. Here's another one. Niraj, he's part of Coin Center, which is a crypto lobbying arm, right? The Bitcoin Policy Institute, shout out David Zell, is the Bitcoin lobbying arm. But sometimes, you know, the incentives do align, not on everything, but Coin Center has been there for a while, and at least it presented some type of voice in Washington, D.C. He said, watching the Senate banking hearing on Hamas financing, I must say it was refreshing to see the panel of expert witnesses repeatedly fact-check Senator Warren's assertions that crypto should be the focus in combating Hamas funding. Now let's check out some of these clips because it was an absolute massacre. So let's check out this first one. It is by Senator Haggerty. Let's check it out. And another thing, guys, pay attention, right? Niraj said Senator Warren's assertions, right? And again, once you connect the dots, you know, did Senator Warren have something to do with that Wall Street Journal article? No way to know for sure. But again, lots of coincidences are happening these days. So anyways, let's see what Senator Haggerty has to say.
The Wall Street Journal recently reported that Hamas and Palestine Islamic Jihad, since 2021, have received roughly $130 million in crypto financing via offshore exchanges and platforms like Binance. It's important to note that these figures are disputed, and per independent analysis that was released just this week, could be overestimated by as much as 99%. The data analytics firm cited in this Wall Street Journal report has even disputed the estimates that were reported, stating that there is no evidence to suggest that Hamas fundraised anything close to this $130 million reported. Make no mistake, any such funding is unconscionable and should be addressed in a thoughtful, targeted way in order to choke off these terrorists. But we should do this without pushing the crypto industry overseas. In this case, we need a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. The Wall Street Journal recently reported.
In this case, we need a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. And make no mistake, the FinCEN proposal is a sledgehammer. Now, that discrepancy number, 99%, how did this senator get that number? That is the same number that Sam Callahan reached with his viral tweet. That is the same number, roughly the same number that Preston Pish reached in his article that he released for Bitcoin Magazine. So clearly, make no mistakes, the efforts of all of you guys on social media to bring attention to this at the speed that it happened in, right? Because remember, before social media, we would have to go through those gatekeepers of information and hope to God that they would find the story interesting and then publish it. But the community, the Bitcoin immune system, reacted very, very, very quickly. So it wasn't only Senator Haggerty. Here is another expert, and let's see what she has to say. So that was Senator Haggerty. So that was an actual politician. Here is an expert who was offering testimony.
Let's don't lose sight and focus from the big picture. Crypto is currently a very small part of the puzzle. The major funding channels were and remain state funding, Iran and others. Those are the major players. Most of the funds are still being transferred by the traditional channels that we all know from the past. Banks, money transmitter, payment system, Hawala, money exchange, trade-based terrorism financing, charity, cash, shell companies, and crypto. The effort should be global and focus on imposing global sanctions on Hamas and their sponsors, as was the case with ISIS. Let's don't lose sight and focus from the big.
Okay. Lot to break down there, right? The vast majority of the funding, again, it's not coming from crazy Bitcoiners online, came from what? The traditional financial system. It did not come from, they say crypto, Bitcoin. You guys know the deal. So, yeah. Like, what else you got to know at that point? Like, clearly, the fact that the Wall Street Journal has not retracted the article or offered a correction, even though the analytics that they used the own analytics company said, wait a second, you misrepresented the information. The fact that they haven't retracted it tells you everything you need to know. That article was pivotal in their strategy to try to shove down the throats this FinCEN proposal, which would circumvent the normal legislative process, which they know they can't pass because they don't have enough support. The Republicans barely have a majority in the House, and the Senate, same thing. The Democrats barely have a majority, right? So it's just crazy that, like, you know, we've reached this point where they find it so threatening, they're willing to go to these types of lengths to try to get their way. This is the separation of money and state. Buckle up and get ready for the ride. Take self-custody. If enough people do it, we'll win, and there's nothing they could do about it. Anyways, so I want to get our guest thoughts. James, I'm sure if you've been on Bitcoin Twitter, or maybe you've been on the beach, maybe this is the first time you're hearing about all this.
Bit of both.
Bit of both. Okay, so you've been on. If you've been on Bitcoin Twitter this past week, you definitely have definitely read up on what's been going on with all this. So my question to you is: does it surprise you at all?
I wish I could say that it did, but no. I mean, they're painting a narrative here. They're threatened, as you've said. They're never going to let a good crisis go to waste. And if they can add to the regulatory burden, if they can introduce anything that's going to make something they consider a threat less viable, that's what they're going to do. Bless them. Bring it on. But that just seems to me to be what the parasitic class do. They see something that is a threat to them, and they will use underhanded means to kind of paint a narrative of why it's bad, and use that as a justification to suppress it.
100%. Beautiful.
Wait.
That's called motherfucking fraud!
Oh man, Opti, what's your take on this, bro?
Yeah, so let's go back to the beginning. First and foremost, again, this is the opinions of Opti, not necessarily a representation of Simply Bitcoin. Liz Warren is a mouthpiece for Big Bank, like, convince me otherwise. But really, politicians, for the most part, I'll be generous here, for the most part, are completely bought and paid for. And I really wish we could have, like, patches like race car drivers, so we can be transparent and see who, who's paid for and who's bought by who. That would make this so much easier. And I mean, we've been covering it for the last 2 weeks. Like, misinformation is the norm, guys. Like, here's why it's so important for all of us to make content and to have these conversations on the daily with our friends and family, and try to do our best to explain the real nature of the beast going on around here. And I saw a tweet yesterday, and it really hit home, and maybe the numbers are off a little bit, but it was something on the lines of mainstream media's job is to manufacture consent and make it seem like 90% of the population have the viewpoint of 10% of the population. And it's probably less than 10%. But, like, once you understand that this is the game here, you really start to look at the government propaganda or corporate propaganda a lot differently. And you realize just how much power independent content creators really have in today's world. And I think a lot of us forget that independent content creators are the real signal. Like, that's where the real conversation is happening. But people still, for some reason, believe the people on the suits, on the television. But this just goes to show that Bitcoin is crossing that Rubicon into mainstream adoption, mainstream consciousness. And it's almost getting too big for anyone. Well, it's already too big for anyone to control it and stop it. But I mean, what's that guy's name? Haggerty or whatever? Like, shouts out to that guy. I don't know who he is. I've never heard of him before, but hey, he's going to be on the right side of history. And it's just funny to me to watch and hear the politicians try to grapple with Bitcoin. They're so used to their little, walled gardens that when this new technology, this change gets thrusted upon them, like Bitcoin, they're just scrambling and try to figure out ways how they can distort the truth and distort this for their own benefit. And we're just here like, yo, Bitcoin can't be stopped. You can't stop the truth. The truth wants to be set free. And, you know, as the meme goes, Bitcoin is for anyone. Anyone can use Bitcoin. It is what it is. But the fact that they are manufacturing these lies just goes to show how afraid they really are of Bitcoin. And shouts out to Miss Wagman, I believe was her name. She's stating the obvious that we always state here on Simply Bitcoin, but she's, you know, at the halls of Congress or Senate or wherever that was, saying what we always say on the show. You know, dollars are what criminals use the most, guys. It's like, this is the receipts. This is the standard quo. And the more, what do you always say, Nico? They project onto us what they themselves are doing. And the more they project and the more they fearmonger on Bitcoin and the more they go to try to ban Bitcoin, the more I just know we're doing exactly what we need to be doing by opting out of this and opting into Bitcoin and using a monetary network that is outside of their control. You know, as the Hayek quote goes, a sly roundabout way that they cannot control. This is the way, guys. We say it every single day. It's Bitcoin or slavery. It's a total CBDC, central bank digital control mechanism, or it's freedom money, Bitcoin on the other side. And we all have that choice today. And I think this is the most important choice to be making rather. And I think for our generation, I'm guessing that James is roughly a millennial. You look roughly around the same age as us. I think fighting for freedom on the monetary level is the most important thing to be doing for all of us. We've been saying this for a long time. You know, Bitcoin is purpose, engineer a better world. This is the most important fight to be doing. And yes, I know that for the most part, Bitcoiners are still kind of, how would I say this? Put in the corner, you know, like just like toys that no one wants to play with. We're just like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. You're on the dark web. You're one of those weird internet nerds. Like no one cares what you're doing. It's becoming very clear that this is the fight, and more people are waking up to the fact that it's always about the money, guys. It's always about the money. And now they can't control it. And so they will use whatever mechanism they can to control the narrative. They will try to manufacture consensus against Bitcoin. They will FUD it. They will probably stack in private. And as number goes up, they may endorse it. But in the meantime, this is the then they fight you stage. And we are just in the early innings of that saga. So prepare yourself. Make sure your Bitcoin is off exchanges. Make sure, you know, like James will be talking about today, make sure you're a part of the peer-to-peer economy, however way you can. Like, make sure you are protected because we know they will try their best to stop the on and off ramps to Bitcoin. So just make sure you're prepared for that. It is coming. It's a matter of time. It's not if, it's just when. And hopefully, you know, I am hopeful here, slightly hopeful, that the U.S. will get their head out of their ass and they will stop trying to fight Bitcoin. This is freedom money. I thought we were a freedom nation, and this is a global phenomenon. So look, I say it all the time. You can't ban Bitcoin. You can only ban yourself from Bitcoin. And even though the U.S. is the reigning empire of the world, it would benefit its citizens to embrace Bitcoin. And all I'm seeing is politicians and bureaucrats shoot themselves in the foot and hurt average everyday citizens. And it absolutely pisses me off.
100%. I think you hit the nail on the head, man. It's not a government by the people, for the people. It's clearly fiat has Frankensteined it to a government by the government, for the government. Thankfully, this is one of the things that Bitcoin fixes. Anyways, I saw BJ Ditcher in the chat. Had the pleasure to have dinner with him in Miami. So shout out BJ, absolute freedom fighter. So thanks for joining us today, my friend. Anyways, I do want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference on planet Earth, Bitcoin 2024. It's not going to be in Miami this year. It's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. The year of the halving. You definitely don't want to miss the Bitcoin conference, the year of the halving. It's July 25th through the 27th, 2024. You want to get your tickets quickly before the prices go up. For a GA ticket, it's only $349. For an industry pass that gives you access to 3 days of the conference, including industry day, it's only $849. And for a whale pass, it's $4,749. That'll give you access to the deep backstage VIP lounge. You'll see your favorite, legendary Bitcoiners and speakers just kind of hanging out there and chilling. Bitcoin 2023, I got to take a picture with Tulsi Gabbard, shake her hand, in the deep backstage VIP lounge. So that was really cool. Opti and I will be there at Bitcoin 2024. It's going to be the biggest Bitcoin celebration of the year. You can use promo code SIMPLY to get 10% off your tickets. You don't want to miss it. But anyways, guys, no more delay. Let's jump straight into news.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, everybody. So the next two news topics are going to be seemingly unrelated, but they are related. And there's really two attack vectors governments have against Bitcoin. Attack vector number one is attacking Bitcoin's energy use. So they go after Bitcoin miners, right? We know what happened when the CCP banned Bitcoin mining within their borders. All the hash rate dropped by 50%. I believe that it was on purpose. I believe that's why we didn't hit 100K last cycle. But because of Bitcoin's incentives, those miners migrated to more favorable jurisdictions. I think it was one of the biggest stress tests in Bitcoin's history. And it also proved Bitcoin's irresistible incentive structure that makes it very, very difficult to kill, right? Bitcoin literally pays you to keep it alive, right? Does fiat pay you? No, I would say fiat extorts you, if anything. And then the second attack vector, which is what we're going to focus on today, and is the right to self-custody, the self-custody aspect. This is why it's so important to take your keys into self-custody. We made it easy for you guys. You could scan the QR code on your screen, go directly to the Foundation website. You can get yourself a Passport hardware wallet, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. So I'll break it down like this. In the 30s in the United States, when they passed when FDR passed the 6102 order with an executive order, it was Congress after the fact that really made it passed it into law. But it was an executive order that made holding gold illegal for American citizens. The reason that they were able to do that so successfully was because of gold's physical characteristics. Because of gold's physical characteristics, there was centralization. Anyone that held a considerable amount of gold held it in vaults, in bank vaults, right? So all the government had to do is they passed this law from one day to the other, and then all the gold that were in vaults that belonged to people, all of a sudden, belong to the government. That sounds like theft to me. But hey, you know what? I guess it was legal and there was a thing, but that sounds like theft, right? And then what were American citizens given back in return? They were given back dollars, paper money, right? So those are the two attack vectors. I think they're not going to be as successful with the first one, with the mining one, the energy use one, because the fact is that Bitcoin mining makes otherwise useless energy, stranded energy. You're able to monetize it because of mining. I would say that mining makes renewable energies viable without government subsidy. And I would say that the incentives of mining are so strong that people are just going to keep relocating to more favorable jurisdictions. Look at what Max and Stacy are doing recently in El Salvador. They're in Bitcoin country. They're setting up the Volcano Energy Initiative, where they're going to use El Salvador's renewable energy sources. First, they're going to start with solar and wind, and then I'm sure they're going to migrate to geothermal. And they're going to use some of that to mine Bitcoin. Last time I read it was a $1 billion initiative. So I'm not really worried about number one, even though that's the one that gets the most noise. But number two is a little bit more sinister, which is they're going to make it difficult for people to withdraw. They're going to make it difficult for people to take self-custody. They're going to demonize self-custody. And you've heard this in the laws proposed by Elizabeth Warren, Senator Marshall, under the guise of money laundering. And they literally mention unhosted wallet. There's a gap in unhosted wallet. So basically what they're saying is self-custody is a problem. And then they really pulled the curtain when the FinCEN laws were proposed. In the FinCEN laws, it literally says that that you cannot use, or they'll force you to report single-use addresses. That has nothing to do with coin mixing. Single-use, that is by default how your Bitcoin wallet works, right? Literally. Every time you use a Bitcoin address and there's a balance there, your wallet will automatically change to a new address. So it's so broad, and it's broad on purpose to give them, like the senator said, not my words, an effing sledgehammer, right? So that being said, here's another move towards, I think, what is going to be the inevitable, right? Which is government's last step and last hope is to shut off the escape valves completely, right? And this is one more step in the United Kingdom to do just that. So here's an article by No BS Bitcoin. UK's law enforcement can now seize Bitcoin linked to criminal activity without conviction. The Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Bill became law on Thursday after receiving the King's approval. Users with robust self-custody setup remain unaffected. I can't emphasize this last part enough. Guys, the two Bitcoin companies that want some of our sponsors, right? We're very picky with the sponsors that we choose, right? We want to provide value for you guys as well, right? We literally have a way for you to take self-custody robustly. Back up your seed word on Titanium, take self-custody of your Bitcoin, get yourself a hardware wallet. Obviously, we recommend the Passport by Foundation. They can do all of this. They can do this with the BlackRock Spot ETF. They could do this with custodied Bitcoin on an exchange. But remember, the key word in this is users with robust self-custody setup remain unaffected. So anyways, goes on to say, quote, provisions in the bill give broader powers to local cops and will let them seize crypto they believe was used in launder money, traffic drugs, commit cybercrime, and terrorism without conviction. Do you guys see the pattern? That's an entirely different country. But they just passed broad powers to give local cops and the government the ability to seize crypto under the guise of laundering money, trafficking drugs, committing cybercrime, and terrorism without conviction. Not legal, not innocent until proven guilty, guilty until proven innocent. Sometimes experts would come in handy, particularly in time-sensitive cases. Prior to this law, digital assets linked to illegal activities were a subject to freezing, but couldn't be confiscated in criminal cases unless an individual has been arrested and convicted. So, like freezing, it's like, okay, this guy's a suspected criminal. We're going to freeze his assets on the exchange. Now it's like, we're just going to take it. And then let's see if he proves himself innocent, right? Goes on to say, quote, separate provisions to help authorities seize other assets that can help identify crypto linked to crime were also added. It was passed by Parliament on Wednesday. And again, I'm not going to read you guys the passage from the Sovereign Individual because I've been reading it every single day this week. But again, once again, they hit on the head. Governments, even in traditionally civil countries, will turn nasty because they were losing their monopoly on money, right? And that's exactly what's playing out here, in my opinion. But once again, how do you protect yourself against that? Take self-custody. You have no excuse. We literally recommend you guys ways to do that every single day. And in terms of software wallet, you have Blue Wallet, you have Electrum, you have Sparrow, you have Spectre. You have so many. Wallet of Satoshi. You have so many wallets that you can use. There's so many hardware wallets that you can use. Speaking of hardware wallets, here's Ledger. Now, Ledger introduced a very interesting feature, which I think the road to hell is paved in good intentions, right? Very interesting feature, but essentially, it's kind of like a back door to your seed phrase. But of course, there's trade-offs to that back door, because if there's a back door, let's say you lose your seed phrase and you're like, I lost my seed phrase, and then you go to Ledger and you say, I lost my seed phrase, and they can recover it for you. If they can recover it for you, who else do you think can recover it for you? Connect the dots with this law in the UK, right? And this Ledger proposal. So it goes on to say, Ledger now lets you pay $9.99 per month to ID your cold wallet seed and send it to trusted third parties. It goes on to say, quote, today is the day. I'm glad to announce that our secure wallet recovery solution, Ledger Recover, provided by CoinCover, is now available for Ledger Nano X users. You can subscribe to this paid and optional service here. The service, which notably failed to launch earlier this year due to community backlash, will cost its users basically $10 per month after the first free month. Quote, when you subscribe to Ledger Recover, a pre-BIP39 version of your private keys is encrypted, duplicated, and divided into 3 fragments, with each fragment secured by a separate company: CoinCover, Ledger, and Escrow Tech. When you want to give access to your wallet, 2 of the 3 parties will send fragments back to your Ledger device, reassembling them to build your private key. Ledger Recover compromises extensive identity verification process performed by CoinCover with a secure element built by Ledger. It goes on to say, your identity details are collected by Ledger Recover ID verification service providers. CoinCover and Ledger Store are an encrypted excerpt of this data. CoinCover will never pass your information to third parties unless it has a legal obligation to do so. I'm going to go back to this. They now can seize your Bitcoin without proving in court that you're a convicted criminal. Put the pieces together and then just use common sense and think about how this can, and I'm calling it right now, will be exploited by governments to seize people's money. And yes, I'm sure, I don't think Ledger is approaching this in a nefarious manner whatsoever. But, it's still call it for what it is. It's still an open door, in my opinion. It's still a back door, in my opinion. Ledger Recover is currently compatible with Ledger Nano X. Soon it will be compatible with Ledger Stacks, Ledger Nano S Plus. Ledger Recover isn't compatible with Ledger Nano S. Ledger Recover availability depends on the country in which your passport, national identity card, or driver license was issued. At the moment, a passport, national identity card issued by the European Union, the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States, or a driver's license issued in the United States is required to subscribe to the service. As an added layer of protection, subject to investigation, $50,000 compensation may be available from CoinCover in the unlikely event that something were to go wrong. The recovery process can be replicated on any new and compatible Ledger device following the identity verification process. Read a more detailed explanation on how recovery works here. Quote, depending on your personal needs, Ledger Recover may or may not be for you. For most users, having no backup for their secret recovery phrase is a risk that they don't want to take. And again, this is your outsourcing personal responsibility, but what they fail to mention is that there are cons to that. And history has shown that when governments get put in a rock and a hard place, like the 1930s is a great example. The country, the government, the state was in a hard place. And what did they do? It justified the theft of people's gold. So the whole point is that that option isn't even there. And when that option isn't even there, that's why I said my quote. That's why I said what I said. If enough people take self-custody, if enough of the population, right, especially in a country like the US with the Second Amendment, take self-custody of their wealth, the only option the government has is to go door to door and be like, hand over your money, essentially. And again, that's not really, like, in my opinion, like, that's not really a viable solution for you know, millions upon millions of people doing this. This is why it's so vital. And here's Seth for Privacy, by the way. Shout out Foundation. They're one of our sponsors. He's with Foundation Devices. He says, please do not use this service. If you use this service, you're signing up for simple seizure of funds. If Ledger willingly or unwillingly, due to government pressure, decides to collaborate with one of the other storage providers, friends don't let friends use Ledger Recover. First image shows that Ledger owns the common encryption key that is used to encrypt shards. Second image shows that Ledger themselves saying how they can give over funds in the event of a subpoena. Now, here's the thing. In the UK, they could just seize it without even proving that you've committed a crime based on this last law. And I bet you Elizabeth Warren is salivating at the mouth when she saw what the UK did. She's like, I wish we could do this in the US. So also shout out to Foundation. Shout because, you know, they're really speaking the truth there. So when you get yourself a Passport hardware wallet, now you know who the people are behind that. They don't like that shit, right? They're actual fucking Bitcoiners, right? It's Bitcoin or slavery. So yes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I think Ledger, I don't believe they were malicious. I don't believe they were pressured to do this. I think the CEO and the company genuinely thought that this was a way to increase their revenue with the subscription service. However, like, you're paying for a backdoor because you don't feel like you can write down and properly secure 12 to 20. If you can take care of a child, you can take care of 12 words. You can take care of 24 words. There's so many awesome Bitcoin companies that have made this easy for you. There's awesome Bitcoin content creators, like a friend of mine, BTC Sessions, that dedicates his life to making tutorials for people that don't understand how to do this. Foundation Devices has an onboarding service. They will literally help you set up your hardware wallet if you get a Passport. Like, literally. Also Swan Private as well. You sign up with Swan Private, you become a member of Swan Private, you can call any of the Swan Private representatives, and hey, they'll help you set up your self-custody where you actually have self-custody. So look, the road to hell is paved in good intentions. And the reality is that, look, if someone has a backdoor to your money and they're put in a bad position, and that bad position incentivizes them to take your money because that is the easiest way, they're going to use that way, right? So yeah, I'll be honest with you. Ledger was one of my favorite wallets, and Opti knows this when I got into this, and because it was so easy to use, it was so convenient. But now, obviously, you know, it's Bitcoin only wallets, clearly. You know, because I think that Bitcoin only wallets and you know, and Rustin says it right there. He's in the chat. The Bitcoin way, one of our sponsors too for our for our Simply Originals. Their whole business model is onboarding. So you could literally set up a call with them, and they will onboard you, and they'll make it easy for you. So yeah, check out the Bitcoin way. Check out Simply Originals. Check out Rustin. He's dropping some hot fire. And you could see it. So like, there's literally no excuse as to why you want to use, you know, you want to pay to have a backdoor into your hardware wallet. And here's the thing, because Ledger's, I'm not making any allegations or anything, but Ledger is closed source. So you don't know what's going on behind the hood. How did they make that backdoor happen, right? Do you trust that there isn't a backdoor with anything else? I don't know about you guys, but I want my hardware wallets to be open source, right? Which is what we recommend to you guys on this show always, right? So yeah, man, Opti. I mean, I gotta say, bro, I'm disappointed. I was a big fan. I was a big fan, bro. Big fan of Ledger.
Let's let James jump in first, and then I'll rant for a little bit. James, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, excuse me. Yeah, Nico just touched on it right at the end there. Great. I would completely agreed with all of that. I don't know if it's malicious or not, but that bit at the end, I want to know how they can just roll this out in a supposedly an air-gapped device, that and it being closed source software. That makes me think. Doesn't mean it's malicious, but maybe something in their code allowed them to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not technical enough to fully understand how that works, but that is a little fishy to me. I guess the other thing I would say about it is I think plenty of people are going to use that service. Unfortunately, people are lazy. So probably for, a couple of years, people are going to use that service, and then someone's going to discover a really bad exploit. Everyone's going to get wrecked, and then they're no longer going to have that service. But unfortunately, that's human nature. So we'll see. I mean, it might end up being a fantastic advertisement for a pure version of self-custody.
100%. I 100% agree with you. Yeah, man. It's but it it's like, yes, pure. The question is, are people really going to wake the fuck up enough to be like, okay, guys, it's time to like stop outsourcing personal responsibility. Like, it's so inconvenient for me to write down fucking 12 words. It is so goddamn inconvenient for me. I'm going to have to pay this company to back up in my opinion, this defeats the purpose of self-custody. This is self-custody. Like, this is not as bad as an exchange, but like, it's, like, if shit hits the fan, they could just take your shit. Right? So, oh man. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on all this, bro?
Yeah, so first and foremost, of course, we talked about it in the beginning. We know that on and off ramps will be strangled, and that is a point where people, well, rather the governments and bureaucrats will try to hamper Bitcoin adoption. And the second one is what I always say here on the show, custodying your Bitcoin is the revolution. And it's so simple to us Bitcoiners. Like, you use the email. To me, using Bitcoin is no different than using email. Yes, there's a little more responsibility. Yes, there's no 800 number that I can call if I mess up my Bitcoin. But I don't know about you. I trust myself more than a banker, and I have a little faith in myself that I will remember and back this up. You go through the process. It's not that hard. It's just a new step, and it always just reminds me of when you had to use new technology. There's a learning curve. And once you get over that learning curve, it's second nature. And I think this is where we are right now. It's just like a lot of people put up mental roadblocks to this learning curve because it's so different. They're so used to having trusted experts custody their Bitcoin, or rather their other assets like their stock, etc. And people are lazy. And for better or worse, kind of what James says and what people are saying in the chat as well. It's like people will use this, which is probably the saddest part about it. And the whole point was, eliminating trusted third parties. And yet I find it interesting that some, I wouldn't even call them Bitcoin companies anymore. Shitcoin companies are basically like recreating the broken wheel of trusted third parties within Bitcoin. And yes, I know people will want trusted third parties. Like, it's part of human nature. I get it. But trying to eliminate the trusted third parties as much as possible, I think, are some of the most important things to be doing and following the Bitcoin ethos. And hence why we embrace and support the companies that do that, because we do think that is the most important thing to be doing, is to take custody of your Bitcoin. Next, to that UK law stuff. I said it last week, or maybe it was this week. I don't know. It's all a blur now. I find it amazing that the computer illiterates, the bureaucrats and politicians and the powers that be that don't understand what the hell they're doing are trying to regulate what they don't understand. Again, like it hasn't worked in the past and it won't work this time. And it just never gets old to me. And the irony of it all never gets passed on me. You know, these geriatrics out there that don't understand how the world works, don't understand how technology works, obviously don't understand how Bitcoin works. And we laid it out and completely destroyed their narrative. And yet they're here to protect you. Again, we say it all the time. The very people you need protection from are the people here to quote unquote protect you. Like this is why we Bitcoin is to eliminate their attempt to even try to protect you. But again, this is the paradigm shift that we're moving through, that we're working through, is people waking up to the true nature of the beast that we are dealing with. And then again, last point, well, actually a couple more points, sorry. The double speak of the name of this bill, you know, it was economic crime and transparency bill. Like it's so Orwellian, you know, we say it all the time. Economic crime is not being done on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is fully transparent. It's literally an open, transparent ledger where you can see everything is happening on the ledger by design. This is a feature of the network. Again, it just goes to show that they don't know what the hell they're doing. Well, rather, they know what they're doing, but they don't know what they're trying to regulate. And then I was reminded of a meme I made for Simply Bitcoin. You know, hosted wallets. There's a hand with a parasite or a leech on it. Unhosted wallet.
Wow.
The leech is gone.
So
Unparasite
true.
your money today. It's so simple. Just save in Bitcoin.
So true.
Yeah, it's just, you know, of course I got to bring a meme into this. Okay,
You have to.
And then of course, back to the ledger at the very end. You know, don't use this ledger feature. I haven't been able to endorse Ledger for a long time. Again, shouts out to our boy Pedro, who's been thoroughly destroying Ledger Live. We can't recommend Ledger anymore, even though that was my first hardware wallet. Like they do kind of have, you know, a place in my heart, because I remember when I first took self-custody, I was so proud. I bought a Ledger, you know, I like took my Bitcoin into custody. I'm like, yeah, man, you know, I got my first hardware wallet. This is so tight. And then, you know, you realize all the complexities of having a hardware wallet that has shitcoin firmware. And then all of the debacles since, it's just like, man, you know, I can no longer endorse Ledger. And this move, again, people are probably going to use it, which is even sadder. And I just it's like Ledger. And again, we're going to move into a bull market. And most people are going to do the same thing that I did. They're going to take those steps into custodying their Bitcoin. They're probably going to go into a ledger. They might learn the hard way that they should have used something else, you know, hence why we recommend Foundation's Passport. Like this is why we work with Bitcoin only companies, so that we do our best to ensure that people are doing the best practices up front, because you do not want to get yourself in a position where, you know, potentially Ledger has a backdoor to your Bitcoin. Like that is, it's almost ridiculous that we're talking about this right now. Like that, oh my God. Anyways, I could probably rant on this for way too long and get way too flustered about it. Just guys, don't look, I hate to do this, but don't use Ledger.
I mean, look, it's as simple as that. All right, everybody. Before we move on to the culture segment to talk about what our guest proof of work is, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Kaboom Racks. They are the best place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. You got to check out Kaboom Racks. You could check out their inventory on Telegram. You could do it by scanning the QR code on your screen or check out the video description. You can connect with a member of their awesome sales team. They're so good, those guys. They make purchasing ASICs easy and transparent. You could also sell miners with them. They have a vast network of domestic and international customers that you could sell your mining equipment with. So check out Kaboom Racks. They're the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. Kaboom Racks. Check out their racks. All right, everybody, let's get on to the culture.
The Daily Culture.
Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. We love Swan because they incentivize self-custody and dollar cost averaging. What are you waiting for? Visit SwanBitcoin.com today.
All right, James. This is where we talk to our guest about the cool stuff they're doing. And for those that don't know, James, what are you working on? Let the people actually, maybe you can combine how you got into Bitcoin into what you're working on and why you're in El Salvador in a cool little rabbit hole story. But James, what are you doing?
Well, mine is a fairly cliched Bitcoin story. 2017, came for the gains, actually started reading and, stayed for the revolution. Was also living and studying in Canada in 2020, and that place went a little crazy, shall we say. Then the legal tender law changed here. Kind of became a no-brainer. Kind of fell in love with the place. Been here for a couple of years now. And an extension of that, as we were just talking about before, in terms of the off-ramps, off and on-ramps being an issue, and the parasites in charge are going to do everything they can to clamp down on that. It made sense to get the peer-to-peer circular economy going as quickly as possible, which does exist here, but it is intermittent, I would say. So there are some places you can go and spend your Bitcoin. There are other places where it's a luck of the draw. Maybe one day they do, maybe another day they don't. That was something that I saw as a bit of an issue. So we've started doing a guaranteed recurring event, a farmer's market, where people that are either visiting, obviously, or people that live here that want to use Bitcoin, they know they can come there and they can spend their stats, spend and replace. Hopefully, that's what I'm an advocate for. That would be it in a nutshell. It's a fortnightly market. We have a really increasingly diverse range of products on offer. Anything from grass-fed beef, organic vegetables. There's some amazing coffee producers, locally made honey, fishermen, oysters. There's craftspeople as well attending now. It's been going for about 5 months, and generally, it's starting to really tick over. We've been doing it really consistently, so it's getting bigger and bigger. And yeah, it's been a really fun, fulfilling little side project, I guess.
So this is in El Zonte, right? At Bitcoin Beach?
See, yeah.
Sweet. Okay. If you could do a guesstimate by average, like how many people are at the farmers market?
You mean in terms of vendors, merchants, or in terms of people attending? Or
yeah, maybe both. Like you kind of
Sure.
run around the merchants, but like how many attendees do you have?
The last one we had about 200 people come.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they only Bitcoiners, or are there some other people that aren't necessarily Bitcoiners and are going to get orange pilled?
It's majority Bitcoiners, but there are people that do come that are just curious. I mean, who doesn't like a good little market on a Sunday when you're out having a stroll? We're not Bitcoin only, I should clarify that. So we do get some people that come in and spend USD with the vendors. And there are some people that do get orange pilled. It is quite a fun little effective way of orange pilling people, because it's just right there, nice and simple. Download a wallet. We have had exchange services, so sometimes people have come in and actually just, oh yeah, all right, I'll try this Bitcoin thing, exchange some USD, and then they go and spend it somewhere else. I actually did that with my mother last week. I was like, Mom, don't do that. Here, I'll send you some Bitcoin, and you can go, here's $50 and go buy yourself something pretty. Yeah, that's the project.
Love it. Okay, so I've recently become a farmers market local. I try to make it every week or every other week and go get meats and my roommate gets like raw milk and they got cheese and breads and all that good stuff. And I noticed that there is like and you kind of just touched on it. Usually at the farmers markets, they'll have like some kind of exchange there where like you can use your credit card to pay for like tokens and then they can, turn in those tokens for dollars. So like how exactly does the mechanism work there? Like you kind of hit on it with your mom. Is there like a Bitcoin exchange or are people just downloading Bitcoin wallets and it's peer to peer like that?
It's peer to peer. I'm excuse me. I'm pretty much the Bitcoin ATM there. I will, if people want to exchange, I'm happy to do that. We did have they're called a Chivo ATM in El Zonte, but that just recently had some technical issues, so it's not here at the moment. But that was another service that we would have, especially for some vendors if they want, like we require the vendors to accept Bitcoin, but maybe they don't want to hold on to it because it's intimidating, right? Especially if it's your first time. So we would be taking people to that ATM and helping them get USD out at the end of the day, which thankfully has not been used very much. Quite often people who get into it and they want to hold on to it, which has been really nice to see.
Love it. I'm getting roasted in the chat. Love it. Awesome, bro. Well, I think maybe now is the time where we do the tricky conversation of the circular economy of hodl versus spending sats. And I love the initiative. I wish my local farmers market would take Bitcoin. It'd make my life that much easier and obviously would improve the vendors' lives. But I find it just so difficult to like get the conversation started with people. I just want to buy some meat. I don't really feel the need to like change your whole worldview here. But okay, let's do hodl versus circular economy and spending your sats. What's your thoughts on this?
I don't understand why people can't just hodl and replace. If you have a setup with however you buy your Bitcoin, if you are willing to support Bitcoin businesses, I think that's really important. And whatever you go and spend, just replace it and send that to cold storage. I don't see why you can't do both. Obviously, hodling it's what got us here in the first place, right? There's no disrespect to the hodlers of last resort. But we are aiming, in my opinion, Bitcoin, we should be aiming to move not just from a store of value, but also to a medium of exchange, a unit of count, et cetera, et cetera. We all know those talking points. Part of doing that is supporting businesses that accept Bitcoin and spend and replace. That would be my take on it.
Okay, love it. Yeah, I mean, I really always think about it in terms of if you're still kind of, 1 foot in the fiat world, 1 foot in the Bitcoin world, then I can see why you're going to spend that dirty fiat first. But if you're just completely all in on Bitcoin, hey, it's your money. You have to use it somewhere and you want more merchants and more vendors to accept it so that it becomes what we know it is. And it's money instead of just a store of value. But I understand, the tax concerns for most people and, not to judge you, but I hear an accent there. So I'm guessing you're not an American.
No, mate, I'm an Aussie. And I guess, yeah, that is something I don't know a lot about is the tax implications in other jurisdictions. So it's probably pretty easy for me to sit on my high horse in Bitcoin country where it's legal tender. So, I think that's probably fair enough. I guess there's extra layers of complication there for people.
So yeah, because it's so like a lot of people don't know that. I mean, if you're American, you know this, but no matter where you are as an American, you have to pay taxes, right? That isn't the case for basically every country on planet Earth.
They're
where
introducing that in Australia now.
they
Wow.
are introduced. Are you going to give up? Are you going to give up your citizenship?
I am, yeah. That's the plan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Sovereign individuals playing out in real
I'm
time.
done with these crooks. So yeah, I'm lucky enough to have another citizenship, which I probably won't say, but
Yeah, don't say it.
yeah, I'm in the process of renouncing because I don't even know if I'll ever go back to that country. I'll go back when the government collapses and you know
Amazing.
they're breaking out the guillotines. Maybe we'll see.
And my favorite black and white costumes. Not prison uniforms. Use your imagination. Okay. All right, James. One more question, or actually, kind of two. What is the future for the Bitcoin farmers market, and how excited are you to be living in El Salvador currently, and just seeing where the country's going? You said you've been there for at least 5 months, so I'm sure you've seen some advancements.
Oh no, we've been doing the market for 5 months.
Oh,
I've been here for a couple of years actually.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah. After the tender law changed, I was here fairly quickly. In terms of the market, we are just aiming to get it as consistent as possible so that it becomes a recurring event with a bigger and bigger following. We are doing some pop-up markets in other places. Actually, on this Sunday, we are doing one up in a little town called Berlin, which is up in the mountains in El Salvador. So anybody watching, if you are in the country, it's about an hour north east of the capital. Please come and check it out. That's going to be a really big day. We're not just doing the market. It's a big, we're just a small part of a bigger festival up in that town. They've invited us. They're doing their own circular economy. They're bootstrapping their own thing up there. So yeah, please, if you're in town, come and check it out. In terms of El Salvador, it is a bizarre and beautiful place. I really like it. It's not for everyone. It depends where you live. If you live in the city, you might not notice a great difference. I'm out in the jungle, so you kind of have to be prepared to, you gotta be really self-sustaining, and I love that. For me, that's fantastic. But I think for some, we've met some people where it's a bit of a shock for them. In terms of the actual climate in the country, it seems like there's a lot of hope. This country's been through a lot. It's been through a civil war 30 years ago, and then the gangs were obviously horrific. There is a lot of optimism in the air here. It's palpable. It's really nice to see, to be honest.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
so inspiring, bro. Holy cow. Wow. Okay. You are an expat, chose to move to the shining country on a hill, savior El Salvador. You don't live in the big city. You live in the countryside, and I'm Latin American. I haven't lived in Central America, but I have lived in the Caribbean, have lived in South America. So I know exactly what you're talking about when you mean it's different. But to me, what's surprising is, I speak Spanish, so that's I would say it's not that it's normal to me, but I know that world. But for someone who lived in a developed country like Australia, leaving and then finding comfort in the countryside in Central America, I think that speaks volumes for how much progress Nayib Bukele and El Salvador have made, and that is extremely promising. I'm surprised, right? I'm surprised.
Well, man, when you come visit, we'll have to go out to the ranch. We'll ride some horses and stuff.
Let's go.
All
right, wait.
It's fun. It's fun out here.
Sounds like a plan.
Wait, Nico, before we go to meme review, James, we didn't tell people where they could find the farmers market, the one that you do bi-weekly. Let the people know where they can find you, and if they're in El Salvador currently or they're going to make a Mecca trip out there, where exactly are you guys located, and what days do you usually run the market?
Right. Yeah. So we do every second Sunday, second and last Sunday of each month, basically. So check it out on Twitter. We have a Nostr, which I don't do a good enough job keeping updated because I'm still getting in the habit of using that over Twitter. We have an Instagram as well, which my lady runs. So yeah, just the regular socials. Shoot us a DM if you have any questions. We update them pretty regularly with posters, etc. Dates, times, location, etc., etc. That would be the easiest way if you wanted to find more info and hopefully come along.
Love it. Love it, bro. Well, really appreciate your time. Great story. Can't wait to get back down there and actually hit it. I was there, I think it was last August, and I can't wait to get down there and see how it's improved and see more Bitcoiners. And yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man.
I'll definitely be hitting up the farmers market when I'm down there.
Go.
Oh,
Do you mind if I plug one more thing, actually?
Yeah, shoot it.
Thank you. We're doing another market on the 9th of November. That's coinciding with like the third day of the conference. And that one's going to be a really big one. We're getting bands. We're going to have a little dirt bike track. We're going to have skating competitions, prizes and stats, things like that. We're also, shout out to Weinicus.
Let's go!
Shout out to Weinicus because he coined the term plebiscue. So we're going to do a big plebiscue as well. We're going to do a big fire pit and smoke a whole bunch of meat and do that as part of the whole market. So that's going to be a really fun day.
Love it, bro. Love it. Well, shouts out to Wine.
Yeah,
he hates when I say it, but he is the influencer's influencer, and he's behind the scenes. And I know he wants to be more of an influencer, but he's just, he's got his tentacles everywhere. Shouts out to Weinicus.
Indeed. Well, thank you guys very much for having me on.
No, man, appreciate
great to have
it.
the opportunity to, kind of spread that market.
This is what it's all about. This is what the culture segment's about is highlighting Bitcoiners doing cool stuff and continuing to push that Bitcoin culture forward, and giving attention to a bunch of cool projects so that people know that there is more Bitcoiners out there doing cool stuff, and maybe they should get involved or maybe create their own farmers market. I don't know. Hey, I'm just a talking
Do your
head.
own. It's a decentralized movement, right? I want to see more of these things around. In fact, if you have if someone's thinking about it, DM me because I've learned a few lessons along the way. If I can help you not make the mistakes that I've made. So.
Love it.
Yeah. So, but dude, I love, man, that makes me, Opti, we haven't just been talking crap, bro. Like, do you understand? Listen, so do you understand? No, people don't understand. You don't understand. Okay. Latin America is not like the US. Okay. Like, it's not like the US. Like, it's the type of place where you can't wear certain watches on the street. You don't want to pull out your iPhone, right? You don't want to pull out your phone, right? You kind of want to just be wary of your surroundings and stuff, right? So it's a kind of a little bit of a different environment. And the fact, and I agree with you, bigger cities depends, right? But, they tend to be, let's just say, a little bit more developed. But the countryside, no. That's a whole different world. And the fact that you're having a good experience as an expat, someone not Hispanic. How's your Spanish, by the way?
Estoy aprendiendo, pero es mal.
Casi. Estás llegando. Okay. So, but yeah, man, that to me is that's awesome. It's, oh man, Nayib Bukele, absolute legend. Bukele 2024. Bukele 2024. All right, everybody, let's get to the memes. Let's do it.
The Daily Meme Review.
All right, guys, you already know the deal. This is the meme review where you tag me in memes on Twitter, Simply Bitcoin TV, or, my personal one, Optimus Fields. I'll keep doing that for a little bit until it gets too much notifications, or drop them in our Telegram group, t.me/simplybitcointv. I look through them every morning, guys. You guys are still just you're still just stealing memes and not giving me the Twitter account. I'll take the Nostr tweets or posts or burps or whatever you call them on Nostr now. Tweets are the bullets, memes are the artillery. As we've constantly been reiterating on this show, we are in an information war, and it's upon us to spread the signal, to ridicule the corporate press, to get the humor out there, because if you tell people the truth and you don't make them laugh, they may just kill you, as George Carlin usually said. No, go back to the memes. Go. What is going on here? Anyways, guys, this is the meme review. Get your meme review scores ready because we've been delayed too long, and drop it on the last one so that we can. You can't vote for me for 2028. It won't work. It won't work. Get your meme review scores ready because we've had delays and we want to keep it going. All right, guys. All right. First meme is by Michael Saylor. I just love when billionaires meme with us on Twitter. And this is something I've been saying. This is the theme I've been hitting on all week. And James is a part of this. Engineer a better future with the Bitcoin standard. And you can see here Bitcoin logo with, the atoms and mathematical equations behind it. And, I don't know who's doing the AI for Saylor. I doubt he's the one using it himself. Maybe he's got his secretary doing it, but, constantly making the AI memes. Engineer a better future, guys. This is the way. This is what we're all doing here. Figuring out how we can all participate and further push the Bitcoin standard. Anyways, next meme is by Maxie's Club. And we got a bear here crying with its red candle. And we have a bull stealing its chart of my first market and some green candles. Guys, I'm not fully confident that I can say we're in a bull market yet. We might have one more dip in, but it feels like we're in a bull market. 35K feels pretty good, and the green candles will come soon. So make sure you're stacking. Make sure your Bitcoin is in cold storage.
Stacking.
Make sure you are in a good position before the bull begins its run. Okay, next one is by our boy Vikingo, aka at Vikingo Bitcoin 9, and he just goes hashtag BTC. And we got a classic NPC Wojak here, and it goes, Bitcoin isn't worth anything. And the context here for Vikingo is he keeps trying to get paid in Bitcoin. He keeps having these conversations. He's getting very black pilled. He's like, I don't even want to have these orange pilled conversations with people anymore. I'm kind of the same way. Like, we do the show. I let them come to me now. Sometimes us Bitcoiners can be unbearable. I don't even try to orange pill the vendors anymore. I'm just like, okay, you want fiat? Fine. Like, I got Bitcoin, but whatever. Fine. We get it. The Wojak out there, the NPC out there is going, Bitcoin isn't worth anything. Well, guys, it's 35K. And as we move into the bull run, more people will wake up to the fact that Bitcoin is worth a lot. It's actually worth $35,000. Who would have thought? Okay, next one. Shout out to Big Sean Harris because he's the GOAT. And he just goes, unpopular opinion, Bitcoiners, when you buy Bitcoin from an exchange, they don't like. And we have Dwight from The Office. It might not even be from The Office, though, but he's in a wife beater looking very concerned. And also, I want to add to this one. It's what Big Sean says, and I say this all the time as well. So shouts out to Big Sean. He says, I don't care where or who you buy your Bitcoin from, as long as you have the ability to move it into your cold wallet where you own your own keys.
Yeah, listen.
Bars.
That's cool, motherfucking
This is the way,
bars.
guys. Look, we all have, our favorites. Maybe you're a no KYC advocate. Maybe you just don't even care. Maybe you're a peer-to-peer guy. All that really matters is that you take your Bitcoin into cold storage, that you own the private keys. And as more and more people get on the Bitcoin standard, all of this will be for naught, and it really won't matter, in my opinion. Maybe I'm naive. I understand the threats from authoritarians, tyrants, and all that stuff. But in my opinion, they can barely control their own monetary network. You think they're going to control ours? Nope, not going to happen. Anyways, side tangent. Next meme is by Rory Highside. Shout out to Rory. Also an Aussie, a GOAT, in my opinion. Been around for a long time. Savage.
Wait, hold on. James, could you say kangaroos?
Kangaroos.
Wait. Can you say?
We actually just call them roos.
Oh, okay.
But
Can you say no? Can you do a
Nah.
no? No. Where does the R come from? I don't get it. Okay. Anyway, side tangent.
There's not
Rory,
much to do on that big pile of sand, so we have to get creative with our language. You know?
okay. Rory Highside goes, all wars are banker wars. War is expensive. Burr is inevitable. Opt out with Bitcoin. And we got a picture here of Jerome Powell with a burning pile of cash in front of him and the Bitcoin, or not the Bitcoin flag, the American flag in red, or is this orange? I can't tell. I'm colorblind. Is this orange or is this orange tinted?
Is
it red?
The fire is tinting it orange.
Okay. There you go.
What do you see?
It looks kind of orange, but like kind of red to me. I don't know.
Okay. Interesting.
All right. This last one is by RDBTC, aka RD_BTC. And it goes, it's a way of life. Hashtag Bitcoin. And here's all of the new Bitcoiners. Here's all of us, basically. We got a guy here sitting, on a platform. He's in a suit and his laser eyes. He goes, when you first find Bitcoin and you just sit there with laser eyes, like, this is who I am now. I guess I'm a Bitcoiner. I guess this is my life. I guess my whole life purpose is to try to orange pill people, to hodl these coins, to continuously interject Bitcoin into every conversation possible because Bitcoin fixes this. This is who I am now. I've accepted this. I am okay with this. I'm the unbearable Bitcoiner. It is what it is. It is what it is. All right, guys, drop your meme review score in the chat as we cover ours live, and we will get to yours. And Nico, you have yours up. Let's go with you first.
Yeah, I see Sophie is in the chat, so I'm going to give it a fucking dancing squirrel. 3 dancing squirrels.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where's the music, bro? Where's the music?
All right, that is my
that's enough or we get copyrighted.
That is my meme score. That is my meme score. All right.
My meme review score is the Bitcoin Dog by our boy Will. Shouts out to you, Will. But actually, let me read the note he wrote for me here when I saw him at Pacific Bitcoin. He goes, Opti, you bastard, love you. The Bitcoin Dog. Shouts out to you, Will. Yeah, I can read. Yes, this is true. Better than you, too.
That's true. Oh, man.
All right, James, your turn.
I'm going to give it 1 Bitcoin
Oh,
Air Max.
dang.
Yeah, these are cool.
Unworn.
These are made by a little local artist here.
Sick.
So come to Bitcoin country and grab yourself a pair. They're sweet.
Yeah, that's nice. Do you only have one? Do you
Wait,
have
is
both?
is it custom? Is it like, did he paint it?
Yeah. They painted.
So you're never gonna wear those.
No. Well, these are actually for my lady. These are way too small for me. But no, I don't think she's ever going to wear them either. Little collectors.
Yeah, collector's edition. Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't want to crease your Air Force Ones, bro. That's bad.
Yeah. I
Most
agree.
definitely
I agree.
not.
Well, great scores today. Before we get into the meme review score, I want to give a shout out to Wine. Really.
Shout out to Wine.
Get our merch or Wine will get upset with us. He's our merch guy.
And I'm yelling at him to get you guys hats. We're in the works. We're talking about it. I know. You guys are going to yell at me in the chat.
It literally says Bitcoin or slavery in the stitching. It's super freaking nice. Opti's wearing a represent are the ones who made it for us. Very high quality merch. We're working on the dad hats. We're working on the
snapbacks, the female
as well.
Let me know in the chat.
Working on the female merch
or in Telegram. What do you guys want? Snapbacks, dad hats, female sizes. I get it. We're going to.
You could really support the show by really getting some of our merch. Anyways, Opti, it's time for the meme review. All right, Justin Boyven. Meme score, BTC peer-to-peer paradigm adoption completed, 100.
Well, close. Not completed yet.
Okay, Will Wettenheim says, the process of opting out is backing out, always keeping an eye out on the lizard class.
Oof. Philip, I don't know, Nico. You make your.
Philip Russo says Lagarde looking away for any way to gain access to Opti.
That's a good one. That was a good censorship.
Narwhal Tacos meme score. Liz Warren's ledger gets rugged by her own department.
Yes. Yes.
Oh man. Next one.
I think there's a delay. There's a delay.
No, there isn't a delay. It's because we ran out of time. We ran out of time. We just ran out of time. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the show, make sure to smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. But the number one thing you can do to help this movement, share Bitcoin content, share projects that Bitcoiners are working on, share Bitcoin art. We got to change the culture. We got to fundamentally change the culture. Change the culture. We win this thing. And I think we're going to win this thing anyways, but it will just make it a lot faster. I want to give a shout out to our guest, BTC Farmers Market. Thank you so much for joining us today, man. Really, really appreciate it. And shout out to you moving to the shining country on a hill, El Salvador. I'm so glad that you're having a great time. And it makes me really, really happy that Nayib Bukele is, doing good things over there.
Well, thank you very much for having me on, both of you. It's a pleasure to be here, and sorry I don't get to watch the show as much as I would like to. I'm too busy, but fan of the show. It's an honor to be here, so thanks very much.
The honor's ours, man. Thank you so much for coming, and hopefully we'll have you back on soon and see how your project is developing, man. So thank you so much again for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys, have an amazing weekend. Everyone take care, and some well-needed rest, relax, go outside, get some sun, eat some good food, hang out with good people. Love you all. And we'll be back on Monday, 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Peace out, everybody.